What I love about the FPA is that the individual conversations get so engrossing that I'm now vamping until Jonathan Alter of Newsweek magazine can join us here on the stage, because you were talking about foreign policy. I know you were. A few things. It's great to be back, obviously, after this association of many years between our two organizations. Great to be seated once again next to Mary Belknap. The world is now right. I have told my wife of 19 years that if there is a night that I do not come home down that driveway to check on the appearance of Mary Belknap in New York, because that is where she will find me, and Mary and I have kept this flirtation going for over a decade now. A funny thing happened on the way to our panel this year. Some of them were taken away from me by the President's decision to, of all things, fly overseas. And so David Gregory, our White House correspondent, was going to be with us, and others who we have lost because of the President's travels and reshuffling. And I can speak from the heart when I say that both of those joining us to my left, your right today, are people I love and have loved for a long time. And you know them both. Noel introduced them to you earlier. Andrea Mitchell, our Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent, and Jonathan Alter from Newsweek magazine, senior editor, both, of course, far away from what we do in our various media, both of them personal friends for a long, long time. Both of them authors of upcoming books, and
like the plug.
Both the subjects, respective subjects, are subjects I have been fascinated with for years. Jonathan is writing about FDR, and Andrea is writing about Andrea. So I'm going to allow, and you know, this has always worked best. And happy birthday, Ray. This has always worked best when this has been a conversation. I was up last night watching the BBC election returns in the UK on C-SPAN, and I had my microwave popcorn. It was exciting, and it was great. And there are wonderful and awful things happening in our world, as is the case every time we gather. There are cards on your tables, pens on your tables. We like the questions tough. At least Jonathan and Andrea do, and so please have those sent up. Really, it's a fielder's choice which area to begin. We could begin with the late election results from last night. We could begin with North Korea and what we all learned this morning from the New York Times. And we could obviously talk about Iraq, Afghanistan. China's got to enter here. Mr. Bolton's nomination has to come up today. So what I'm going to do is a very smart moderator device, and I'm going to say, Andrea, start us off on the topic that is chief of interest to you as we gather in New York this fine Friday.
Thank you, Brian. It is wonderful for me to be back with all of you. I'm old enough and have been long enough at my home at NBC that I recall doing this with John Chancellor and Garrick Utley and, of course, a long list of foreign correspondents from NBC. So it's a great pleasure for me to be back. In fact, I've been here so long that some of you may remember me as a brunette. The pictures in the book are incredible and embarrassing. North Korea, Brian, I have to say, first on my focus today, because we have known for quite some time that North Korea is building. What they haven't done is test. If they are preparing to truly test, that is of great concern. What we don't know is whether this is another of Kim Jong-il's shows. Now, are they taking things in and out of tunnels and making it appear that they are testing? Is this part of a negotiating strategy? Is this for show? And there is considerably more consensus in the intelligence community right now that it is serious. We have warned our allies, as my esteemed colleague David Sanger wrote in today's New York Times. What we're not clear on is whether there is absolute consensus on what the satellite imagery shows. And frankly, I am humbled by my own experiences over the last few years in covering all sorts of issues related to weapons of mass destruction. So as a correspondent who reported on February 5th, 2003, from the Security Council of the United Nations that Secretary of State Colin Powell, backed up by George Tenet, presented a powerful demonstration today of what American intelligence claimed it knew about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction. I concede to the David Kay reports and the Charlie Dolfer reports that we don't know as much as we think we know. That goes for American intelligence, that goes for American statesmanship, that goes for American journalism. And I've gone back over all of those scripts. It's something that I was keenly concerned about in writing about these numbers, the past numbers of years. But even though we had plenty of attribution and all the caveats, I think the preponderance of the evidence was, by common sense, if not other, conventional wisdom, that Saddam Hussein would not have foregone 10 years, $300 billion of potential oil revenue if he weren't hiding something. That's, in fact, what Hans Blix and Mohammed el-Baradei thought. They thought, however, that inspections should have had more time rather than going to the military option. But there was very little disagreement about what might be hidden, or about the fact that something was being hidden in violation of UN resolutions. The only issue was what, where, when, and how seriously he was in violation. So that leads me back to North Korea. If we do report this tonight, and we are working on it as we speak, we're going to do it very cautiously. Last Thursday, we did report that Lowell Jacoby, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, had warned the Senate in testimony elicited by Hillary Rodham Clinton and several others that, in fact, there was a consensus at this stage in the American intelligence community that North Korea had the capability to marry its warheads with its missiles, including missiles that could reach the western United States. As one source said when I called to ask about this, that they said, well, their missiles can reach Bill Gates' house. I'm not so sure about George Bush's house. Well, I'm not sure that the people living in Alaska, Hawaii, and the west coast of the United States would be terribly reassured by that. But the bottom line is they have